Hello everyone, TMMgamer here, and today I had the pleasure of bringing you a random rambling replay commentary, and that's a bit of a mouthful, but I'm going to stick with it because today what the plan was to do just a normal Ultimate Team live commentary, but obviously the Ultimate Team servers are down for maintenance at the moment, so I couldn't do that, and I went out last night with some friends drinking, so I have a little bit of a hangover, so I didn't really fancy doing a team tutorial. Too many stats and numbers, not good for my head right now, so I decided to do just a leisurely commentary. And the game I'm doing it over the top of is a Friends League game versus my mate John, and we have really close leagues. The last league we actually had was a draw. We drew the league, we scored exactly the same amount of goals as each other. It was mental, and this is the game from that league I'm just mentioning, the drawn league. I'm playing as Chile, and Chile are one of my favourite teams actually. I quite enjoy playing as Chile, but I set them up in a very weird way, because Chile have an absolute abundance of midfielders and pretty shocking defenders by and large. So what I normally do is I think I play like 8 midfielders, but I play a normal back 4, play a CDM in central defence, play 2 wingers at the back, and I go really attacking. So it's quite an interesting way to play with a team. I definitely recommend trying Chile out because all of their players are good on the ball, so you can really get some nice passing moves together. Obviously they've got a few superstars as well, the main one being Alexis Sanchez up front. Really good player, thoroughly recommend trying him out. And you know, my mate John's playing as Real Sociedad. I have no idea why he chose to play with them. I don't think I've ever played with them in FIFA, so I can't give you any tips with them, but definitely recommend Chile. They're a fun team to play with. But like I've been saying, today's commentary, I have absolutely no plan for this. I've decided to sit down and do a little bit of a calm. But one thing I did want to quickly mention, I have pre-ordered a game, and this is the first game I've pre-ordered in about 2 years, because the last time I pre-ordered a game was Mass Effect 3, and the reason why I regret pre-ordering that was because they had such a massive chunk of the game taken out as day one DLC. You know, they had a major Prothean character, and if you have no idea what the Mass Effect lore is, it's basically trying to get you to pay to have Darth Vader in Star Wars. You know, it was a massive thing that they took out and tried to force you to pay, and I pre-ordered the game and I really regret it because it was a massive kick in the balls, and the storyline was very disappointing. It had a very disappointing ending. And I said after that point, right, no more pre-orders now. I can't get burnt by this anymore. I don't have enough money just to throw away on games that might be a bit dodgy. But I have broken my own strict rule, and I've broken it for Rome 2 Total War, and I'm going to explain why. The only time I can justify pre-ordering a game to myself is when I am going to buy it anyway. So I've pre-ordered Call of Duties before, knowing that I was going to buy it because all of my friends had it, and it didn't matter if that game was shocking. I still would have got it because I was going to play it with my friends, and the chances are it wasn't going to be abysmal. And you know, this is the risk you take with a pre-order, because when you pre-order a game, you are basically going, I'm giving you my money on the expectation that your game's going to be good. And that's the thing, you know, you're putting your money out there for a game that might be terrible. And obviously I did a commentary about this 2 months ago, so I'm not going to go into massive detail, but you can remember like Aliens Colonial Marines. They faked footage of that and then showed it to the press as gameplay footage. So it was basically a trailer they'd done where they made it look all shiny and fantastic, and they said, oh, this is what the game's going to look like, this is legitimate game footage. And then when you went through that bit in the game, you know, it was absolutely horrendous how bad the graphics were in comparison. So that's why I don't normally like it. But I've pre-ordered Rome 2 because I know I'm going to buy that game anyway. You know, there's no way that game is going to be horrendous, because I'm a massive Total War fan. I've played every Total War apart from Shogun 2. Yeah, Shogun 2 is the only one I haven't played. I've loved every single one I have played, and looking at all of the footage they've released and the trailers they've released and all of the... Because what they've been doing, which I really liked actually, is on their official channel, Creative Assembly's official channel, they've been doing this mini-series called Rally Point, where a couple of the developers basically do shows showcasing different points of the game. You know, one day they were talking about the battle AI, and then the next they were talking about the new campaign map, and then they do different ones for factions. And it was just a really good way to slowly introduce new things, talk about the development, talk about what they're looking at, show you footage. And all of this added together shows to me that this game isn't going to be a flop. And the great thing was, because normally I absolutely detest Day 1 DLC, and I still don't like Day 1 DLC. I think that if it's developed before release, you should get it with the basic game price. I mean, for me, there's no real excuse to not do that. But the good thing about pre-ordering it on Steam is it's actually like 15 quid off at the moment, and you get the day one DLC included in that pre-order. So, you know, everything stacked up perfectly for me there. I love the Total War series. I am going to buy the game anyway. I looked at all of the footage before, you know, the example gameplay, all the footage from the expos they've gone to, and they've shown it, and it's all come together and said, right, this game's not going to be terrible, I'm going to buy it anyway, it's cheaper pre-ordering, and I get DLC with it. No, this is the only reason why I've broken my rule. If even one of those things wasn't there, I wouldn't have pre-ordered it, but because all of those stars aligned, I pre-ordered it, and I'm really looking forward to Rome 2. Like I mentioned, I'm a huge Total War fan, absolutely massive. I've played loads, and the only reason why I couldn't play Shogun 2 was because my laptop physically couldn't handle it. So I made a massive mistake when I bought Anno. Now, Anno's like a city building game. If you guys haven't seen it, I do recommend checking it out. It is really good. It's a fun game, and it looks graphically stunning. It's a super looking game. But I bought that, and it didn't run on my laptop, so it's just been sitting there on my Steam account for the last year and a half, mocking me, basically. So I knew I had to be a little more careful with the games I order on PC. So there's no way, if it can't run Anno, you know, my laptop wouldn't be able to run an absolutely massive battle. But one of the perks of having my new gaming PC in the pipeline is that I will be able to play games like that again. Although, unfortunately, like I mentioned in a previous video, it's doubtful whether I'll be able to actually upload videos of Rome, because, you know, obviously Sega's absolutely horrendous decision to, you know, block loads of people's YouTube channel just so Sega Japan could get one of their videos higher up the search rankings, and I don't want to risk having my channel ban-habbed just because some, you know, Japanese executive wants his video to get slightly higher up YouTube. Now, I don't want to take that risk, which is a real shame, because I'm sure this game's going to be fantastic, and if it's not, something's gone drastically wrong. I mean, you know, Creative Assembly haven't made a bad Total War, and the budget for this, I think, is double the budget they've ever had for a Total War game before. So it's a real shame that games like this I can't upload on my channel because of some executive in an office somewhere in Japan might shut my channel down because of it, and that's a little bit disappointing. But, you know, the PC will give me so many opportunities, but yeah, I don't want to moiter about that too much. Let's talk a little bit about football. Now, I haven't really talked too much about real life football on this channel before, and that's something I'm definitely looking at bringing in more. You know, I've been trying to knock around the idea of a football podcast at some point, but the problem with that is, you know, who else am I going to do it with? All of these little things. But the good thing is, now I'm in RPM, which is obviously the network, the gaming network I'm with. Or they do other things as well, it's not just gaming. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be looking around for people on that to possibly start a podcast with. You know, it's very early, and I haven't done any work on this at all, but that is the aim, because obviously football is one of my favourite sports. My most popular upload is a football game. So I think it's about time I start talking about football a bit more often. So let's start right now. I'm just going to moiter a little bit about Aston Villa to start with, because obviously most of you guys know I'm an Aston Villa fan, and last season was pretty depressing to be an Aston Villa fan. You know, we stayed up comfortably-ish in the end, you know, the couple of games to go, but for a large part of the season we were really close to going down. You know, we were always sniffing around the bottom three. You know, I don't think we got higher than like 13th all season, which is a little depressing, but like I said, in the end we managed to stay up, and we even finished above Newcastle, which I find quite funny how they managed to finish below us with their squad. But, you know, now made a few good signings over the summer. Really impressed with Luna. I think he's a very good left back. I mean, Joe Bennett was one of our weakest players by a long way last season. He really was average at times. Luna's looked a lot better. He's very good going forward. Possibly needs to work on his defending a little bit, but like I said, he's a massive improvement on Joe Bennett. You know, Akore, the centre back, great signing. Now, we haven't seen too much of Tonev, Bakuna and Hellenius yet. You know, he played Bakuna yesterday out of position, I think. I think he's better as a winger, and he played him more of a central midfielder, which I didn't think worked particularly well, but perhaps that was because Silla is still coming back to fitness. So we've got a lot of new players in, players I like. We are offloading some of the old players that I don't like at all. You know, we got rid of Darren Benton. You know, Darren Bent's a good striker, but he's a luxury player. You know, you can't have Darren Bent in your team unless you are dominating games and controlling the play, because if you give him a lot of service, Darren Bent's a fantastic striker. But at Aston Villa, he was so underused because he doesn't work for the team. He barely moves. He spends most of the game offside. So he's not the player we needed. We needed Christian Benteke in the team. And a lot of people were moaning about saying, oh, why has he dropped Darren Bent? Why has Lambert got rid of him? I completely support Lambert's decision. If he hadn't have dropped Darren Bent, we would have gone down last season. Because Christian Benteke, I think he contributed to about 40% of our goals, which is just insanity. Goals or assists. It's just ridiculous. And if we didn't have him in our team, running the line, holding the ball up, bringing other players into play, bullying centre-backs, giving us an out ball, we really would have struggled. Because, like I mentioned, Ben, luxury player. When you have like Ashley Young on the wing, which we did when he first came to the club, he was much better. He scored loads of goals. He's got a good goal-scoring record at Aston Villa, and everywhere he's been with support. But we definitely needed to get rid of him. And I'm pleased he's moved because he's a good player, and I'm sure he'll do well at Fulham because I think he fits into their style more. And having Dimitar Berbatov alongside him as well, really good player to hopefully give him a few assists because he's in my fantasy team. So fingers crossed, Dimmy has a good season. But I'm pleased he's gone. We need to get rid of Stephen Ireland now. Stephen Ireland is just so poor, it's untrue. He's such a gifted player, but I have never seen anyone as lazy on a football pitch. I mean, he makes Darren Bent look like a marathon runner. He just doesn't do anything. He stands around. He moans all the time. He looks like he can't be bothered. And I mean, he's sitting there on ridiculous wages. I think he's on like 40, 50 grand a week, which is insanity. I mean, we've got like Shay Given sitting there on 60 grand a week as well, which is also insanity. So we need to get rid of these players. It would save us millions. We've really shaved our wage bill down. We've got rid of a lot of filth. And I'm pleased with the way we're going. If we can just get rid of Ireland, get rid of Shay Given, the squad will look pretty good. Because like I mentioned, bought some good players, bought well in the positions we needed to. Defence was a big problem, so we got 2 new defenders in. Got a little bit of extra depth up front. It's looking much better now. So fingers crossed we can get a good season. I'm predicting us to be 13th, 14th. If we finish there, I'll be very, very happy with that. Obviously, anything higher than that I think would be a little bit ambitious because, small steps. We're building in small steps. Lambert has invested a lot in youth, which I think is a good idea. We've still got a lot of young players coming through the academy that need a few more seasons to develop, like Nathan Baker, for example. I mean, Nathan Baker was pretty shocking last year, but he's definitely got potential, but he just needs that time to grow. Kieran Clark, Fabian Delph, Andy Vyman as well came through the youth system. Really, really good player. He's developing nicely. So just keep the small steps coming. Keep 2 or 3 nice signings coming in every year. And I'm a lot more optimistic about being an Aston Villa fan now than I was this point last season. Because I thought last season it was going to be really, really tricky. But it's great. We're finally beginning to repair the damage done by Martin O'Neill. And Alex McLeish as well. I mean, McLeish has been terrible. And it's like the first time in 6 years where we've had a manager start 2 seasons in a row. I mean, we had O'Neill, then he left 3 days before the start of the season. Then we had Houllier, who had heart problems, had to leave. Then we had McLeish, who was just absolutely horrendous, and hopefully he never gets seen again in Birmingham because he's just destroyed both football clubs in that city. And then obviously now we've got Lambert, and finally a little bit of stability. Got a good side, so fingers crossed a good finish this season. So looking forward to it. I had a really good start as well. Obviously beat Arsenal away 3-1. I was pleased with that game. Arsenal didn't really have any shots. I think they had like 3 or 4 shots on target in the entire match. I mean, one of our major problems is obviously defending. Last season, conceded 8 goals away at Chelsea. Our best player last season was Brad Guzan, our goalkeeper, and we conceded the most amount of goals we've ever done in a top-flight season. So that just goes to show you the scale of our defending problems. So when you go away to Arsenal and they have 4 shots on target, and then when you go away to Chelsea and are unlucky to come back without a point, I mean, Ivanovic probably should have been sent off for elbowing Benteke, and then he goes and scores up the other end like a minute later. If he'd been sent off there, we would have got a point minimum. Possibly could have had a penalty late on as well. And this is an absolutely horrendous miss. I remember that. Oh dear. But really good start. And then Liverpool. First half we got outclassed. I think Liverpool played much better than us first half. But then second half we came back strong again. This is the thing. We actually have a set of players playing for us now who want to be there. And I mean, you look at Gabby Bonlahor, Andreas Weimann, You know, they put a monumental shift in for the team. When we had Stephen Ireland in there under McLeish, it just nothing was happening. When we've got Fabian Delph in midfield who puts a shift in, Yakuba Silla, you know, we've got a lot of players who actually want to be at the football club now, and I'm feeling a lot more ambitious and a lot more excited being an Aston Villa fan than I was last season, because last season I really did fear for our Premier League safety. But now, like I said, 13th, good finish, that'll be a really good season. So guys, thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's a little bit of a random ramble, but I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been nice to talk about football a bit more, and that's something I'm definitely going to be trying to do. So guys, once again, thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it, and have a great day.